Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. For those who don't know me, my name is Nico Murillo, and I'm the chair of Texans for Safe Access. And I'm so excited today to introduce Dr. Olga to you and go over the endocannabinoid education. So let me bring on Dr. Olga, and I want to read her bio. So hello, Dr. Olga. Thanks so much for joining us. So Dr. Olga is a native Houstonian board certified emergency physician, board eligible, certified lifestyle medicine coach, practicing cannabinologist, and a Texas state registered compassionate use doctor. She works with patients across the United States to refine their health with cutting edge lifestyle changes and a tincture of cannabis in legal states. Dr. Olga believes cannabis is an important and promising medical plant and enjoys educating anyone who will listen. Dr. Olga sits on TSA's board as our medical physician educator and leads us in outreach and education. So thank you so much for being here with us, Dr. Olga. And we're so excited to learn more about the endocannabinoid system. And you went over a great presentation during our medical symposium a few months ago. And so I'm really glad to have you back so you can refresh us on this lock and key that you told us about. So we're really excited for you to be here. And thank you again. So I'm going to get straight to it. I'm going to add my screen and go to presentation mode. Hey, all right, it's all yours, Dr. Olga.
Okay, guys, so today we're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system. And for those of you guys who know me, I am obsessed with this system. The reason why is because it's our system. And it's why medical cannabis and medical hemp are so helpful for our body's environment. So today I titled my presentation, Let Me Clarify Some Things, because there are a lot of questions that you guys have. Even my own clients and my own patients still have questions. So let me clarify some things. Next slide, please. So first, before you, if you're new to me, or before you, if you're new to a new practitioner, start to give anybody authority over your body, you first need to get to know them. So I'm going to go over who I am. And that means now everybody's going to know who I am. So my name is Dr. Olga, but actually my name is Ogadima Obi. I am a Nigerian American, and I practice board certified medicine in the United States of America. I went to the University of Houston for undergrad and graduated with a bachelor's in science in biochemical and biophysical sciences. And believe it or not, my dad chose my major. In my family, that is how basically all of us went through schooling. After that, I went on to get my medical degree from the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. It's my alma mater, and I love it. It was a community-based form of medicine. And after that, I went on to get my honors degree in Burns research. From then, I fell in love with emergency medicine, and so I went on to do my residency at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, Alabama, where I completed my residency program as one of 3 chief residents. And then after that, I went on to receive my board certification in emergency medicine in 2014. I entered into the practice of emergency medicine starting out in Texas, and it eventually branched out my practice, and I now practice and am licensed in the state of California and Louisiana along with Texas. Next slide, please. After residency, I slowly realized that medicine was about practicing treatment. And although treatment is not all bad, it does not allow a person to feel true healing. Healing and curing are kind of synonymous, whereas treatment is really teaching the body how to live with a disease process. And I realized that that's not something I would want for myself. And quickly I realized that that's really not something that patients want or expect for themselves either. So I decided that I still need to learn more. Next slide, please. And so after I hit that roadblock of treatment versus healing, I decided to start visiting other countries. Luckily for me, during medical school, I was allowed to visit the country of Peru. So after residency, I went back to Peru because I remembered what I had learned from my experiences working in Peru. And that was something called native medicine. And I realized that native medicine, in that regard, was healing patients. So I began to read more about ways of healing. how other countries and other cultures were incorporating tree healing into their practices. And so I started reading from texts from other alternative ways of healing, including alternative plant-based medical practices, sunlight therapy, and etc. I started studying more about traditional and non-traditional medicine, and eventually started traveling to other countries. There, from there, I started um, putting together all of my experiences from countries like Japan, um, South Africa, Nigeria, Jamaica, and other Caribbean countries, as well as the entire South and Central Americas. And from there, I put together with my allopathic practice, which is traditional medicine, and started creating something that I call plant-based medicine. Next slide, please. And after that, I started to become more passionate about ways to incorporate healing through policy changes. So I joined various boards and organizations, specifically Texans for Safe Access, on which I serve as a board member. I also joined the Minority Cannabis Business Association. I created a company called Refined Pharmaceuticals with another medicine business-minded individual. I also started working with James Henry San Francisco, which is located in California, as their medical advisor, the Texas Hemp Fest, which was culminated in the city of Houston in the state of Texas, and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, on which I am board eligible for the June of 2020. Next slide, please. So now that you know all about me, let's talk about the meat and potatoes here. What exactly is cannabis? Next slide, please. So on this slide, you'll see what I want to first start discussing, and that is the differentiation between cannabis, the different subgroups of cannabis. So cannabis is the larger group, and marijuana and hemp are the smaller groups. Hemp, which you can see on the left side of the slide, is a type of cannabis plant that contains, by definition, less than 0.3% of its total dry weight of THC. Whereas marijuana, also a subgroup of the cannabis family, contains quite a bit more THC by differentiation. So the differences between the two is that marijuana contains anywhere between 20 plus percent THC, and hemp contains less than 0.3% THC. But you can see that both of these plants, both of these subgroups, contain CBD, other cannabinoids that we'll talk about eventually, and most importantly, both will therefore have medicinal effects. Next slide, please. But why do we care about cannabis? So on the next slides, we're going to talk about the reason why we care about cannabis is because we have a system called the endocannabinoid system. And this system is what helps to govern all of our other systems. It is also the system that jives or connects with the cannabis plant. And it is not a coincidence, my friends, that cannabis and endocannabinoid have the same etymology. And so we're going to talk about this endocannabinoid system, which is throughout the animal body as well as the human body. And it is responsible primarily for maintaining something called homeostasis within our system. Homeostasis means basically balance. If one thing is out of whack, then another thing is activated to put it back into whack. And so that's what we call homeostasis. Next slide, please. And so our endocannabinoid system, we're going to break down scientifically, just like my favorite childhood scientist, Bill Nye, the science guy. So we're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system, and we're going to call it the ECS from now on. Say it with me, ECS, ECS. Got it? Great. So ECS, or our endocannabinoid system, is made up of three major components. Those three components are the cell receptors, the endocannabinoids, and enzymes. So when we talk about cell receptors, we're going to talk about the thing on the outside of the cell where stuff can land on. It's the landing pad. So cell receptors in our ECS are primarily CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors. So just remember that landing pads are cell receptors, and those are our CB1 receptors and our CB2 receptors. Our endocannabinoids are the things that land on the landing pad. So they're the landers. And then there are the enzymes. And you think of enzymes, I want you guys to think about enzymes like scissors. So enzymes cut and break down the endocannabinoids. And the two main enzymes that we're going to talk about in the ECS are FAAH, which cuts anandamide, and MAGL, which cuts TAG. Next slide, please. Okay, so where are the cell receptors located? Remember, we talked about the cell receptors being the landing pad on the outside of the end of the cell. And so the two major cell receptors are CB1 and CB2 receptors. CB1 receptors are primarily located in our central nervous system. So that's going to be our brain and our spinal cord and our nerves mostly. And then CB2 receptors are located in the periphery and in our immune system. So right now we are in the middle, or we're towards the end or at the end of our flu season, for example. Flu season indicates infections, and infections are controlled by our immune system. Our infection responses are controlled by our immune system. So CB2 receptors are located throughout our immune system. And so you can see why the location of cell receptors is so important when it comes to our human body, our responses, and most importantly, how we can get healing from these receptors. Next slide, please. So CB1 receptors, as we mentioned, are located in our central nervous system. So therefore, they regulate or control the neurological or nerve function that we experience in our human body. CB2 receptors, on the other hand, are located mostly in our immune system and in our peripheral system. And so they are responsible for regulating or controlling our immune function or our responses to immune system things. And so these things, and I really want to go into some detail about the CB2 receptors. These things mean that our CB2 receptors can control our responses to allergies, asthma. They can tell us about vaccinations and how we will respond with vaccines. We can use them to boost our immune system. We can use them in patients or people that are suffering from autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis or lupus, etc. Inflammation, specifically for people that experience inflammatory pain like arthritis, and so on. And like I mentioned before, infections. And so these receptors, both CB1 and CB2 receptors, are extremely important to target and pay attention to when we're looking to use cannabis for healing. Next slide, please. So as you can imagine, if a system is going to create balance and regulate all the other systems, it has to be very complicated or complex. And our ECS is no different. So our ECS has 6 major enzymes, 3 for anandamide and 3 for 2-AG alone. And this is just what we've researched so far. There's more to come. It also has 3 other known endocannabinoid-like compounds, so compounds that are like anandamide and 2-AG. It has 5 other known endocannabinoids, so 5 on top of the 2-AG and anandamide. Wow. And 4 other well-known ECS cell receptors or cell landing pads. There's 4 other ones besides CB1 and CB2 receptors. Next slide, please. So what do our endocannabinoids do? We talked about our cell receptors. What do the things that land on the receptors do? So anandamide, which primarily affects the CB1 receptor, is going to therefore primarily affect the central nervous system responses and functions. So remember we said the central nervous system primarily is the brain and the spinal cord. So therefore, anandamide will cause or affect our mood, which is like happiness, sadness, anger, pain, memory, both short and long term, cognition. That's basically you the things that you do, your behaviors. So things like brushing your teeth, things like thinking and responding. Our emotions, again, our mood is one thing, but our emotions, how we feel, how we perceive things, are our emotions. Our appetite, whether we're hungry, whether we're full, and so on. 2AG, on the other hand, will affect both receptors, which is really exciting. And so it will affect both CB1 and CB2 receptors. So it can affect our central nervous system by way of the CB1 receptor and our immune system and peripheral systems. The peripheral systems, guys, when I say that, those are things like our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, our liver, our gallbladder, all of that stuff. So 2AG can affect our mood, pain, memory. It also can affect sleep, the way that our reproductive system, so whether or not we're having menstrual cycles, or for men, whether or not we're going through puberty, but also whether or not we're able to make children. It also can affect our bone health, which is really important as we get older, but also as we're growing, as well as our immune system function, like I mentioned, and so much more. Next slide, please. So where does cannabis come in? Cannabis comes in because it is the plant version of our endocannabinoid system. Isn't that cool? And so cannabis is a plant that has three major components as well, just like our ECS does. It has cannabinoids, just like we have, which cause or exert or result in therapeutic effects. Therapeutic means good effects that help us. Flavonoids. Flavonoids are what are responsible for giving the cannabis plant, as well as every other plant, every single other plant, the color or pigment. So green, blue, purple. In this case, most cannabis will have a color that's either in the purple family or in the green family. And that also has therapeutic effects. Once again, therapeutic means good effects that help us. And terpenes. Terpenes are the part of the plant that give it its smell or aroma, what it smells like: minty, fruity, tart, musky. Those also have big time therapeutic effects. And I'm going to say it again. Therapeutic means good effects that help us. Altogether, these components or parts of the cannabis plant cause something called the entourage effect. If anybody's ever seen Entourage, which is a show that I kind of like, your entourage is like your team. Everybody has their own kind of personality, their own abilities, and they all come together to make a super plan. And so that's what the entourage effect is. It's how all those components come together. They all stay in their lane. They all do their thing. It all works together for good, and it makes this beautiful, just harmonious effect, and that's the entourage effect. Next slide, please. THC. Dun, dun, dun. THC is by far the most popular cannabinoid in the cannabis plant. It is considered the big dog. The cannabinoid that exerts this wonderful euphoric effect. We call it a high. A high is actually very therapeutic. The reason why THC exerts this high is because it binds directly to the CB1 receptor. If you look on the right hand of the picture, you can see anandamide looks like a diamond, THC looks like a triangle, and the CB1 receptor looks like a open beak. Anandamide normally, remember guys, would bind to the CB1 receptor, but THC, when it's ingested, when you take it into your body, will bind directly to that CB1 receptor, and really kind of preferentially, the CB1 receptor will bind it. That means the CB1 receptor will prefer THC over anandamide when THC is available. When it binds to the CB1 receptor, it will cause similar effects that anandamide does, but a little bit stronger. Just keep in mind, the reason why there's a difference is because THC does not bind exactly the same as anandamide. It binds a little different. This is why anandamide doesn't make you feel high. It just kind of, when it's doing its thing, you feel good. You have a good response. THC, when it binds to CB1, binds differently, and so you're going to feel that euphoria. And then as a result, when THC binds to the CB1 receptor, it regulates or controls the responses. And so you're going to feel not just a mood, you're going to feel an elevated mood. You're not going to feel an appetite. You're going to feel an increased appetite. And that's because THC binds a bit differently. Next slide, please. And on this slide, we're talking about CBD. Now, CBD is becoming the kind of like socialite of the cannabinoid. It's a bit, people consider it a bit more palatable and a little bit more, acceptable. And that's because CBD tends not to cause the same euphoria as THC. CBD is thought to act by inhibiting the FAAH, this enzyme. Remember, FAAH normally cuts up or breaks down anandamide. And as the scissors for anandamide, when it's present, it will cut down anandamide and get rid of it so that you can use it later. Well, when CBD is present, it stops the scissors from cutting. And so instead of losing anandamide, you have increased anandamide levels. That is why when CBD is taken, people say that they feel kind of, a little settled. They don't feel high, they feel a little less anxious. They feel a little less pain. They feel a little less cranky. And that's because it increases anandamide naturally by preventing it from being cut down. CBD also is thought to change the shape of the CB1 receptor. Remember, the CB1 receptor is where THC would bind and the anandamide would bind. And so when CBD is taken, it affects the shape just so THC isn't able to bind. Anandamide can still bind, but THC won't be able to. And that's why when CBD is taken with THC, you feel less of the THC effects. In other words, you feel less euphoria or less quote unquote high. Just an aside, I am going to stop using the word high from now on because I love THC and I will not allow my patients and myself to learn to make it a villain. It is not a villain. It is a very helpful cannabinoid. And so as a result, we're going to give it respect by instead of using the word high and saying other adjectives like euphoria, pleasant, more pleasant, etc. Okay, next slide. Oh, this is one of my favorite slides. So I've been asked over and over again after my patients really start to learn, they're like, are there other plant cannabinoids? There are. There are hundreds of them and more to be discovered. On this slide, I've broken down about 10 total, and you can see the two columns, THCA, THC, CBDA, CBD, CBN, etc. All of these cannabinoids have their own positive effects or therapeutic effects. And so you can reference this later. I got this from the BG group. You can reference this later so that you can see all the other cannabinoids that we have discovered so far. Next slide, please. So now that you've learned all about it, you may be interested in using it. So the question is, how do you get it? Next slide, please. Before we talk about getting it, I have to let you guys know I want you to be safe and legally fortified with legal information. And so right now, marijuana is considered a Schedule I drug. We have the power to change that by being active in legislation. But as it stands, Schedule I is the same group as heroin, LSD, magic mushrooms, methylquinoline, etc. Schedule I, according to our federal government, means there are no medical benefits and it is highly addictive. I did not mention in the previous slides that cannabis has not been proven to be addictive. And in fact, it has been proven to be difficult to become addicted to cannabis. It does not mean you cannot. It just means that it has a very low addictive profile or a potential. And as we saw on, I don't know how many slides previously, it has tons of medical benefits. Tons, not an exaggeration. Schedule I drugs are therefore determined by our government to be illegal because of the definition. So that means that we still can't really study it, we can't use it, we can't grow it, we can't sell it, and we can't possess it at all. That is marijuana. I did want to mention that there are two FDA-approved synthetic THC drugs, Navalon and Dronabinol, that are currently available for use, proving that at least synthetic THC has medical benefits. But if you are interested in using marijuana or marijuana in the state of Texas, you cannot. There are states that have allowed it to be legal, but federally it is still illegal. Next slide, please. So what is legal? What is legal is industrial hemp. That means that you can use any hemp-based product that contains less than 0.3% THC freely. You can order it online, you can buy it in the store, you can buy it from some doctors that have it in their office. Next slide, please. Industrial hemp contains less than 0.3% THC by dried plant matter weight. Anyone can use it. You do not need a prescription. And you do not need even a recommendation from a physician. You can direct it yourself and decide how much you want to take. Medical CBD, also known as low THC cannabis, contains less than 0.5% THC. This is Texas's definition. And so we do in Texas have a medical marijuana policy. We call it medical CBD. It must be recommended by a registered physician, and only qualifying conditions may use this form of medical CBD. So if it's something that you're interested in, you should find a registered state physician to register you and to determine if you qualify, and then that you can get it back up. Next slide, please. Okay, so for qualifying patient conditions for the Texas Compassionate Use Program, this is the medical CBD program, or Texas's medical marijuana program. These are the conditions that currently qualify: epilepsy or any seizure disorder, multiple sclerosis of any spectrum, spasticity of any spectrum, ALS, autism of any spectrum, terminal cancer of any cancer type, and incurable neurodegenerative diseases. There are 100 or more that currently may be petitioned to be added on a case-by-case basis, and your physician can advocate for you if you have some kind of neurodegenerative disease that is incurable, so that you can qualify for it too. Next slide, please. The Compassionate Use Registry of Texas, also called CURT, has a step-by-step system. You can screenshot this screen and take it to your doctor if you believe you would qualify and you would like your doctor to become registered so that they can register you. There is an 8-step process here that I won't go into detail. It is very easy. Like I said, print this, screenshot it, take it to your doctor's appointment, and let your doctor know, calm down, I got you covered, so that you can qualify. Next slide, please. And how much does it cost? The Texas Compassionate Use Program has three dispensaries that participate. You cannot take this to just anyone. You have to take it to a registered and licensed dispensary. In the state of Texas, that's currently free. And so generally the whole process from doctor's visit to medicine will have costs associated with each step. In general, your initial visit with your doctor, to make an appointment with the Texas Compassionate Use doctor, will cost anywhere from $75 a visit to $450 a visit. That visit may be covered by your insurance or your copay. And then you can expect a follow-up, if you qualify, will be every 3 months because it's a controlled substance. As I mentioned, some teacup providers may accept insurance to cover the cost of the visit only. Medications can cost anywhere from $75 a bottle to $342 a bottle. And that is medicine that you would get from one of those 3 dispensaries. The medication supply can last depending on how often you're using it. Some of my patients, medications can last them about a month. Whereas some patients, the medication lasts them 1 day. So it depends on how much medication you need and how often you're taking. Next slide, please. This slide is just talking about the 3 dispensaries, their medications, and what you can expect cost-wise. As you can see, one whole column is blank because as of January 2020, this dispensary was not currently taking patients, and that dispensary was called Fluent, excuse me. I couldn't read it from here, Consortium. The other 2 are Compassionate Cultivation and Certera. Compassionate Cultivation has a physical location in Texas, outside of Dallas, and outside of Austin. And Certera is located in Florida and has delivery-only options. So I will let you guys look through this slide so that you can see certain medications have certain costs. As the concentration of the medication increases, the cost will increase. Next slide, please. Some additional tidbits. So for pediatric patients, anyone under age 18, there are some medication assistance programs that I was able to find. Any Baby Can and Ascension are 2 of them. I do want to stress to everyone, when you have your medication, whether it comes from industrial hemp or the compassionate use program, make sure that you're traveling safely within the state of Texas or in the United States. You're not allowed to travel with any medication that contains THC, so be very careful. Next slide, please. What if you don't qualify? Well, if you don't qualify for the Texas Compassionate Use Program or for any medical marijuana program, and you want to use hemp, you can still use it. Remember, I said industrial hemp contains 0.3% of THC or less, but there are many versions of hemp that don't contain any THC at all, and that means they're totally legal. Before you use anything, I strongly recommend that you consult with a physician or a practitioner that is well versed in hemp or medical marijuana. Then, once you decide what you want to purchase, ask about the ingredients. Some of you may be allergic to preservatives or may have preservative sensitivity. Ask about certificates and analysis so that you know exactly what cannabinoids are in your product. Remember, we said cannabinoids each have their own therapeutic abilities. So you may just need CBN. You may need CBD and CBG. Look at the certificates of analysis to see what you're working with. Also, certificates of analysis will include solvents, heavy metals, moisture, fungus, and other analysis that you need to know about. So make sure that your product comes with that. If it does not, do not buy it. When you find your medication, when you know that's what you want to use, look for a dosing calculator and learn about what dose you should use. And then start with the lowest dose and increase from there. As I mentioned, consult with a healthcare practitioner and start low and grow slow. Next slide, please. I know your head is spinning. I said a lot, so let me summarize. First and foremost, the ECS, or the Human Endocannabinoid System, is why everything with cannabis works. So don't be afraid of it, and understand that your body actually works well with it. If you decide to use it, it is a good choice. Hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. We as patients, we as practitioners, we as the public at large need to understand that there is no difference, and therefore there should be no federal distinction. We should have open policies so that scientists can research it, so that patients that are dying and sick can benefit from it, and so that people can begin to feel comfortable with it. Hemp in the United States is legal. Marijuana is not. Marijuana is definitely a plant that has multiple medical benefits and needs more research. The current system qualifiers, people that qualify to be registered with CURT can use low THC cannabis, which is up to 0.5%. Everyone else can use 0.3% hemp. CURT qualifiers can now order from 1 or 2 companies, and you can have it delivered to your door. Fluent is currently not accepting patients in Texas, but I believe they will be soon. You can, as I mentioned, pick up or have delivery of your medications. Medication can be expensive, and insurance does not cover marijuana or hemp at this time. You can expect that if you're going to be a part of the Texas Compassionate Use Program, that you will need to follow up every 3 months. And ask your doctor, any doctor, ask them today about registering themselves so they can register you, or at least about learning more about medical marijuana. Next slide, please. If you want to find me, I'm always open to answer questions. Instagram is the best way to reach me. You can reach me at Dr. Olga _refine for life, or any of the other options that you can see on the screen here. I usually take about 24 hours to respond to any questions, and I'm happy to answer your questions at any time. Next slide, please. And look out for more educational workshops and accredited continuing medical education for the healthcare practitioners. We are always devising education, the best ways to get information to the public. And Refine for Pharmaceuticals, which is the group that I work with, we do free educational workshops every month, and you can find out about those through the Texans for Safe Access. Next slide, please. Overall, that's it. I hope you guys had a wonderful educational experience. I hope now you know more about your endocannabinoid system, about how it wants to connect and works wonderfully with the cannabis plant, about the cannabis plant and how not to be afraid of it, and about what we do at Texans for Safe Access and Refine Pharmaceuticals. Thank you so much for your time. I love you guys so much. Thank you, Nico, and I hope to talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Olga. I was captivated by everything, and just a lot of things resonate with me of the natural medicine and how important the ECS system is for all of those areas that it targets. So what an incredible system. And so thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for being part of our board and helping educate our community. Have a great day, Dr. Olga. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. So thank you again for joining us. We look forward for future conversations with our board physicians for exciting topics like these. And if you want a copy of this presentation, of Dr. Olga's presentation, just send us a private message. We're happy to share it with you all. Have a great day. Thanks again, y'all.